As you know, I was over at the Kennedy School, or the John F. Kennedy Library, talking about two iconic teams. The John Kennedy political team, who celebrated the 100th anniversary on Earth last year, and the Boston Red Sox. And the only way you can do it is compare them track to track and what they have done. And by the way, not comparing this man to John Kennedy, but one of the architects of the Boston Red Sox legacy, Larry Lucchino, at his place. Larry, how are you?
Oh, Rick, pretty good.
First of all, congratulations. It's now the Worcester Red Sox, the Wo Sox? What's the deal?
We haven't really focused on the name specifically, but Wo Sox seems to be one of the early favorites. But whether the team will be known formally as the Worcester Red Sox, as the team was known as the Pawtucket Red Sox, and then we'll need a nickname to go from there. But we're eager to buckle up and get into this new process.
Well, and for you, as far as buckling up, you've buckled up and got into the stadium process 5 times. It's the Orioles in Camden Yards. It's San Diego. It's the Red Sox. Then you got the JetBlue Park in the middle of it, and then the Paw Sox. So I think we talked about it earlier, the only human being in captivity who've ever done 5 of these. Congratulations, maybe.
I haven't kept track of that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I know that my cohort in crime here is going to be Janet Marie Smith. And Janet's done quite a few in her time, so you put the two of us together and you're probably up around 9 or 10.
Well, and she gets to do the Dodgers and the Nationals in the meantime, and you just consent. You trained her, right? So she's got 2 more.
No, I'm not aware of the Nationals aspect of it.
Oh, well, didn't she do some of the Nationals with Stan Kasten, or is that not correct?
No,
Maybe
I don't think
not.
so. I think she did. She certainly has worked for Stan before in the Braves, at the Braves.
That may be, yeah. Okay, I'm confused. You know, Alzheimer's, you're confusing some of the old people.
Nonsense. You're never confused.
No, but the bottom line of all of this, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you see Larry at his place. He is rested, he's comfortable, he's mellow, but he used to be 6'4", about 230, with strapping black hair. Look at him now, ladies and gentlemen. Look at him now.
Beat up and worn out, but the process is worth it. I must say, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in baseball. I've been in baseball for, this will be, next year will be my 40th year. Actually, next year will be my 40th anniversary. I've been in baseball for 39 years, and since August 2nd, 1979. And that by far the hardest things I've ever been engaged in baseball have been the ballpark building efforts that we've done either in Baltimore or San Diego.
Or everywhere. What do you think the hardest part is? That everybody knows everything? It's the high visibility? Everybody is an expert on green seats, red seats, blue seats?
Well, I think it's a little bit of that. It's you are designing what is perceived as the community's asset, and often is technically the community's asset. And so your job is to reach out to various constituencies and make sure that they are satisfied, because we all feel like it's our ballpark and we all feel like we have useful opinions in the process. And the reason I think we've been relatively successful is because we've listened to so many constituencies. And it's hard to sit down and listen to everyone with their ideas and their particularly their views of how their part of the experience should go and should be constructed.
Acquired taste. You got to understand what you're doing, and you have to have some expertise based on prior successes and maybe prior failures. If you look at one of these stadium processes as one individual process, you're going to fail a few times before you finally get it done. Nobody remembers the failure. They just remember the building.
Well, that's true. And we learn from our failures and our mistakes as well along the way. But we've had good luck because our ballparks have been things that we liked as baseball fans, first and foremost, but they've also been things that have been win-win propositions for the city, the state, the county, whatever has been involved with us. And that's a real point of pride, too. This is not just make the ballpark solid and sustainable and the team sustainable, but also do something using it as an urban planning device, using it as a catalyst for redevelopment. It really does work those ways in the right context. Not every ballpark is designed the right way. It's put in the right place for these kinds of significant collateral benefits, but they are there.
There is a Walsh tree, there's a Holmgren tree, there's a Lucchino tree. You've got a pretty significant, you got Sam Kennedy, you've got Theo. You ought to be proud of all. The Red Sox are playing really well. The Cubs have played well. Somebody said they were about to win a World Series, or they did a couple years ago. Yeah. But these are all disciples. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel very good, actually, because it's... the job of a CEO in any industry, and particularly in the baseball or sports business, is to hire the right people. We looked in a couple of different pools for applicants. We didn't just go to the standard of places where baseball executives came from. We've looked at different pools, different places, and Mike D is another example of someone we brought from the paint industry to the sports industry. He's done exceedingly well.
To the TV industry, yeah.
And like Charles Steinberg, of course, was on his way to being the team dentist when we pulled him into the mainstream, and now he's now the president of the Paw Sox.
And that's on and on and on. But I guess the answer is too that you're a great doer, but you're also a great teacher. What's the one kind of skill overall that's made you successful in life?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Well, there are two things I would say. First of all, it's not just what I have done or I can do. It's really been there's a lot of faith and fortuitousness about it, and you've got to be. Recognize that it keeps you humble, and it also keeps you from making too many mistakes if you rely only on your own instincts and your own experience. And the second thing, I suppose, has been the quality of people that we have hired. I remember when Jan Murray Smith sent us a letter over the transom in Baltimore in 1979. Calvin Hill was our vice president of player personnel, and he gave me a handful of letters to sign that were essentially kiss-off letters. And I looked at them, and I looked through them, and I saw Janet's. And I said, Calvin, here's a woman who's got a degree in architecture. She's got another degree in urban planning. She's done big city redevelopment kinds of projects. I am drowning here in Camden Yards. Why don't we bring her in for an interview and at least talk to her? So I remember she came into Memorial Stadium, and she was walking over towards my desk, and I said, wait, before you sit down, tell me which league has a designated hitter. She said, I'm offended by the question. I said, good. Sit down. I think we can talk.
And the rest is history, as they say, as far as Janet Marie is concerned.
Yeah.
Obviously, a really key in your leadership style as well. You get to reflect back on a long and storied career that's not over yet. I could ask you which process was the most fun for you, building the Padres, the Orioles, the Red Sox. I'm tempted not to ask it, but I'm gonna.
Okay. Well, they're all different flavors of ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, they're all good in their own way, and they all had their issues as well. But some of the greatest elements of satisfaction, just off the top of my head, would have to come from Camden Yards in Baltimore, the first place where Edward Williams, who was the team owner, gave me the chance to negotiate and design that ballpark. Enormous satisfaction, of course, with the Red Sox. This is Mecca up here for a baseball executive, and the 3 championships in a decade, and the preservation and improvement of Fenway Park, and the expansion of the Red Sox in the community. These are 3 of the things we said at our first press conference that we wanted to do. We saw them as fundamental obligations of ownership, and the fact that we accomplished them is a source of great pride.
Well, and expanding on that, it's about the 5th year anniversary of the bombing past April, and Boston Strong. I see you have a Jimmy Fund shirt on too. Philanthropy is incredibly important to you specifically, and the Red Sox as well. Talk about it.
Well, at our first press conference here in Boston, that was December 21st, 2001, we talked about these fundamental obligations of ownership, and one of them we said was fielding a team worthy of the fans' support. A second was improving, expanding, making better Fenway Park, preserving and improving Fenway Park. Third was to market aggressively like a small market team. And the fourth was to be an active participant in the community. We saw that as an opportunity and an obligation of sports team owners. And so we've gone and tried to do that as much as we can. It gives us a good feeling. It makes us an integral part of the community, and we do some good for the fairness and humaneness of a community in the process. So it's always been important to us.
The answer to this will change, not based on the substance necessarily, but your leverage and experience level as you get wiser, parentheses older. What is you have magic wand, you have one thing to change in baseball. What is it?
Oh, my goodness. Wow. I think, right now, I mean, if you're asking me this question today, I would say it would probably be the pace of the game, the speed of the game. I think it really does have to be accelerated. We've always thought of ourselves as being a little different from other sports.
So you're going to cut out advertising revenue for 30 seconds, or you're going to put a Charlie Finley clock on the ball? Everybody says they want to speed it up. What do you want to do?
Charlie Finley, we've been doing that at AAA.
I know.
AAA Red Sox. We've been we had a clock on the time between pitches.
Yeah.
We had a clock on the time between innings. Consequently, our games are 10 or 15 minutes shorter than they were a few years ago. So I think that would work without damaging the fundamental essence of the game.
Yeah. Are you happy with where the game is?
Yes, for the most part I am, I must say. The dailiness of it is still its greatest charm. The unpredictability of it is still its great charm. Its centrality when we were growing up was greater, of course, than it is now. There's just more things to do.
Well, there were like 5 teams when we were growing up.
Yeah, exactly right. So it felt that way. I do think that there are challenges, but it's within the wit of man and the people in baseball to solve those challenges. They're going to come up from time to time. What baseball can't do is bury its head, and it won't under this commissioner.
You've done 5. Is there room in your life for one more?
Oh my gosh, we're just, as I said it the other day, I was a little pretentious in our press event last week when I said that this was not the end. This was not even the beginning of the end. It was the end of the beginning in very Churchillian terms.
Yeah, but that was referring to Worcester, not...
that's true. But
I'm asking you a different question.
We've only done 4.5, so we've only got 4.5. We haven't done the Worcester project, the downtown redevelopment and the ballpark. And so we've done the hardest part, which is building the consensus, getting support, doing the overall set of agreements that are required. But now, in fact, I talked to Janet Marie earlier today. We're talking about sitting down and let's get to the fun part. Let's start designing something that looks and feels and tastes